Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Noah Scher, and today I'm joined by Andy Zarycki, the founder of Accounting Solutions, a firm that's built on a no-nonsense approach to keeping business owners' books clean, organized, and actionable. Andy, thank you so much for making the time today.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Likewise. So let's dive right in. Andy, you've got a very interesting journey, from starting a website to making the leap out of corporate and starting your own firm. So can you walk us through that journey and what pushed you to go all in on your firm?
Yeah. As a kid, I always had aspirations for entrepreneurship. I always looked up to entrepreneurs. My parents immigrated here from Poland, and they themselves also. My dad flipped homes for a while, and my mom had a cleaning business, so that also inspired me to get into entrepreneurship. So, in late in my college days, we started an advocacy group where it didn't really monetize too well, but we ended up growing a significant social media following throughout all the platforms, about a 500,000 followers to 600,000 followers amongst Instagram, Facebook, and a few other platforms. And and we did monetize the following somewhat, but I just also lost passion for it. And the momentum kind of stopped. So in any case, I put it out there. I started messaging a lot of the people that were within the same advocacy type industry, and I just started asking if they'd be willing to buy the platform. And to my surprise, there's so much interest just because of the sheer following. And I was able to sell it. And during the time, I was still in a corporate accounting job. So once I sold it for a modest five-figure amount, that gave me enough confidence and also gave me enough funds to kind of carry me over to start my own firm. So to lead the corporate accounting world, where I was just working for private companies, mainly packaging industries, and I was going up the ranks within their accounting department, right? So junior accountant, staff accountant, senior accountant, assistant controller, right? And so in any case, I just kind of reevaluated myself and asked, is this really what I wanted to do? I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always thought I was going to be in something more sexy, like, start my own next hottest app or something. But in any case, right, my first client ever, Michael McCready, he kind of just pushed me and said, and you really should probably focus on your firm. I think you're going to do great. And so from there, I really started focusing on accounting solutions, growing my book of business, and it took off from there.
Totally, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So how long has it been, running the firm, and what would you say is your guys', bread and butter? What do you guys do?
Yeah. So we started, it's gonna be 7 years here in June. It'll be our 7 year anniversary. Like I said, I quit my corporate job to start accounting solutions. My first two clients ever happened to be off Craigslist, right? I just lit so we my first client, he's a personal injury attorney, and he jokes about it that he found me on the back pages of Craigslist. And but anyway, so I landed my first couple clients from Craigslist, where then from there it really snowballed because by happen chance, my first two clients was an attorney and a dentist, and they both used the same tax firm. Right. And it was literally just a coincidence. The dentist and the attorney, they don't know each other. They weren't friends or anything like that. And they used the same tax firm. And then the people that were on their accounts happened to be best friends. So when they both got wind that I was both working on their account, our name just started spreading like wildfire within their firm. It's a bigger accounting firm here in the Midwest, a tax firm. And to my surprise, another accounting firm became my number one referral source because they didn't really want to do well. They did do monthly reoccurring accounting, but they didn't service every client. So I kind of call myself in the beginning more so a bottom feeder, right? Where I would take these clients that other firms didn't want and I would bring them under our service offering. So what we do is we don't do any year-end taxes. We won't do any 1120s or 1065s or 1040s. We do some taxes like sales tax and payroll tax, but we really focus on being your back office accounting department, right? So everything from bookkeeping to financial accounting, monthly financial financial accounting, and even CFO services where we do financial analysis, budgeting, forecasting, things of that nature. And we really try to focus within the professional service industry, right? So that's where we want to work with attorneys, doctors, marketing agencies, consultants, things of that nature is really where our bread and butter is.
Gotcha. Totally. So you obviously do work with a bunch of different small business owners and medium-sized business owners across different industries. What are some of the most common blind spots that you see, when you're going into their business in their financials?
Yeah, well, so that's a really great question, right? One of the first common blind spots is the new owners, the new business owners. They don't take the accounting too seriously in the beginning, right? No, I'm not trying to throw any shade at them because they're trying to focus on growing their business, right? They're trying to get their clients, they're trying to make a sale, right? They're not focused on accounting. But then once that business ramps up, right, all too often at the end of the year when tax season comes, they say, oh crap, I need to start getting my things together. And now we're doing a big backlog of catch up and cleanup, right? That would be one. And then others is like established businesses. They don't until we start working with them, they don't see the importance of monthly reoccurring accounting. They just say, "Oh, I have money in the bank account. I could see where I'm at." Well, no, right? As a business owner, you really should get to a point where you're reading a P&L, a balance sheet, and cash flow statements at the minimum every single quarter, at the minimum. But monthly would be ideal, right? And then from there, once you establish the three standard financial reporting, balance sheet, P&L, and cash flow. From there, you could get more intricate where you have more KPIs driven for your industry, right? For instance, personal injury, return on investment, return on advertising, right? Average case costs, average case settlements, things of that nature where we have now further KPIs. But let's start with the basics first. And so I always like to tell business owners, you could know how to make the best brisket in town, right? Or make the best donut in town. But if you don't know your margins on that donut, then you don't know your business, right? I don't care that you know how to bake a great donut. You're not a good business owner at that point if you don't know your margins on it, right? So that's really where we see a lot of gaps and we try to fill that void.
Oh, exactly. I like that you say that, and I would want to touch on that as a lot of small business owners, like you said, they think that while they may have a great service or a great business at what they do, they kind of look at the accounting and the bookkeeping side of things as, just an afterthought. But my take on that is how are you able to make any sort of decision, a top level decision with no idea of where the hell you're at with the
This
financials.
is
And
this
so
is
how do
right.
you help business owners, make better decisions and how do you use that information that you give them to, drive growth for them?
Yeah, and like to just touch on that, right? I say like it's as if you're playing a basketball game without a scoreboard, right?
Yeah.
Or it's stats if you're not looking at your financials. So as far as like it's just having that tough conversation with them, right? And it's easier with the businesses that aren't maybe are like they're seeing that their cash is dipping, right? Or they're seeing that something's not right because then they see the importance of looking at their financials. It's more tougher with like let's say the business is making like 2 million a year and they have maybe a couple employees and the owner it's kicking back enough cash for the owner where he's happy or she's happy and they're really not in they don't really care about the financials because they're seeing cash every single month,
Yeah.
right? But it's like what I end up having the discussion with them is like, well, what's your goals, right? Where do you want this business in the next 5-10 years, right? And well, let's even start with the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And then from there, I get a feel like if they're just happy where they are, it's like, okay, well, let's establish what is your budget, right? That way we're always staying within the budget and you could expect this kind of revenue from here on out, right?
Mhm.
And look, there are some owners that are like, no, I don't want to grow. I'm happy exactly where I'm at. So to each their own. But then like there's others that know like, hey, I want a 10x from here, right? I
Yeah.
want a 5x from here. Well, now let's talk about that because if you're going to do that, to your point, we need to have financials so we can make decisions on how to get there, right? And if that's you have three different service offerings. For all you know, you might not even be making money on two, and you're only making money on one, or selling five products, and you're really making money on one, and the four others are losses, right? Like maybe we cut out some things, right? And so it's things like that that you really do need the financials to be able to tell you the full story.
Exactly. It's plain and simple. When you have good data and things you understand, you're able to make better decisions, right?
That's right.
So
That's
Andy,
right.
do you have an example, of maybe a client success story that, you help them see their financials clearly for the first time and they were able to, grow or any sort of success around that? Do you have any examples of that?
Yeah, I mean, a recent one.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens all the time. And like, to my surprise, there are some clients that like they just want the monthly bookkeeping done, and they don't even care to see financials, or they'll just go on their P&L really quick themselves and grab it, right?
Yeah.
But we like to really work with the intentional business owners, the intentional entrepreneurs, where they really want to be in it deep, right? So, yeah, it happens. It happens a lot, and those are always great. A great feeling when we get that. But recently, right? So we got a salon owner. She has two locations in the downtown Chicago, high-end salon. She's doing very well from a revenue standpoint. She had a firm helping her where they were like 3 months behind every single time on getting her financials. So whenever they got her financials, they would just send her like this big. It looked good. I mean, look, it was a nice financial package, but you're just throwing this at a business owner and like literally via email, no meetings, no nothing, and just having them try to digest all this information. And then more so, the information's already 3 months behind, right? So like you're not even making real current decisions. You're
Yeah.
you're making decisions based off of data from 3 months ago. So any case, she came under us. We got her books caught up and cleaned up, for the 3 months or so. And now we're having monthly financial meetings, right? Comparison to previous year, month over month, percentage of revenue analysis, and just kind of looking at also learning the industry standards, right? Like for a salon, right? Your payroll should be about like a healthy one is about 40% of revenue, right? So we're seeing where does she stack up compared to the industry standard, right? So that is a most recent one. And she's been amazing to work with. And then also, we just got landed another project with her because she has some really good producers where they're all on W-2. And so, and one wants to potentially go to 1099 and rent a chair from her.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? What kind of revenue are you going to lose revenue? Are we going to make revenue? Are we going to break even? Right? What's going to happen if you make this shift? And now this one producer could like, if she makes this shift, this could now cascade to the other producers wanting to make this shift. And now you have a whole different business model, right? So, and giving her that analysis. So I'm actually meeting with her later today to kind of just go over our initial findings.
Yeah.
So that's the most current example.
So it's about actually explaining what the hell all that data means, right? Because what's the
Yeah,
data if
exactly.
you have no one to translate it for you? So essentially, that's what
Exactly.
you guys, yeah, and that's
Exactly.
hugely valuable. So many bookkeeping firms, and especially the older ones, they just throw a bunch of data at clients and they have no idea what the hell they're looking at, right? And so some of the most
Well, all too often, right? Bookkeeping firms are just that. They're just bookkeeping firms, and they're not really going to provide CFO services and accounting services where now you are going to get that analytical side,
yeah,
right? And don't get me wrong, there's some great bookkeepers out there that can do some minor CFO services, but if you're really looking for a full back office accounting department, you want to be working with an accounting firm that happens to also have bookkeeping services.
for sure, totally, yeah. So Andy, I know that most of your clients you said, are in the professional services space. What are some of the biggest financial planning challenges that you help them navigate? Is it, rising costs, pricing strategies? What is the biggest challenges that you see with them?
And the biggest challenges, as far as with the client, it's just keeping up with the books and keeping up with the financials on a monthly basis. Like that is at the end of the day, that's the biggest challenge because even those that want financial meetings every single month, there'll be like 10, maybe 10 transactions that we don't know what they are. So now we need to ask them and they need to relay that information back over to us so we could categorize it correctly and now have actually accurate data, right? That in itself, I would say is like, as far as from the accounting department, as far as from the accounting side, but in general, like as far as for professional service industries, with where the world's going right now is how are you going to incorporate AI and how is AI going to help your business and your industry, and making sure we're just keeping up with the technology and not letting the technology absorb us, right? So, and like again, I could just really relate to the accounting industry, right? There were accounting firms, especially some mom and pop ones, where in the 80s, they were on ledgers, right? Paper ledgers, 80s and prior, right? Everything was on literally debit, credit, paper ledgers. And a lot of them failed to adapt to softwares, right? Because now in the 80s and 90s, you had accounting softwares come out, especially now in the 2000s, and they failed to adapt to that. And their accounting firms either got absorbed or just dissolved, right? So I think we might start seeing that in the AI especially within accounting. And so this, like, why I'm talking about the accounting industry is because this relates to most professional service industries, right? Is how are you going to incorporate this next wave of technology into your business, so you could have, so you could still be around
Yeah,
in the next
exactly.
5, 10 years.
And there's so much, there's all this hype and buzz around AI and automation and everything, and so many firm owners, especially in the accounting world. And I come from a line of accountants and CPAs and firm owners and everything like that. There's this huge fear that it's going to make them obsolete or it's going to erase them. And what we tell them is it's not going to do that. The AI is never going to replace the need for human touch and human, advisory and all of that. So that's going nowhere. But the same thing with the internet, right? So many firms were hesitant, like you said, to adopting new technology and everything, and they will be replaced by firms who use the new technology. The new technology is not going to replace people, but the people who leverage it are going to replace the ones that don't. And you saw that with the internet, like, people who were hesitant to adopt the internet. They were forced to later on and they had to bend to it. And the ones that did adopt it ultimately came out on top, right? So I like that you say that. So in regards to how you serve your clients, is there any, automations or certain platforms that you're incorporating to kind of help manage things, or what are you seeing there?
I mean, so we look, 99% of our clients are on QuickBooks, right?
Yeah,
So, and I like, so many people talk about bad about QuickBooks. I love it. I love QuickBooks. I think it's a great platform overall. Of course it has glitches. Of course it has hiccups. But that's going to be like any,
of
even
course.
Facebook, Google has issues sometimes, right? And it
Yeah.
has is down sometimes. So anyway, like you're going to get some of that. So like I said, most of our clients use QuickBooks, and QuickBooks is really shifting from the desktop world to the online world, right? They won't admit it, but they really want to push everybody to the cloud. That way they could get their monthly reoccurring revenue rather than the licensing fees that used to be with the desktop. So that's one. Like 99% of our clients are on QuickBooks, and out of those that are on QuickBooks, literally, one or two is still on desktop. And we're really even hesitant on working with clients that are still on desktop, and we really encourage them to move over to online. Like at the end of the day, the pricing is just about the same because QuickBooks is now forcing to do annual resubscriptions to their desktop platform,
Yeah.
and that pricing now is actually tends to be even higher than the online version. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's one, right? And QuickBooks Online makes it great. You could connect it to the bank accounts, right? Everything just flows into the accounts, and you could even set up rules, and so it makes the bookkeeping even that much easier,
Yeah.
right? So that's really, we really utilize that. And then, but from an internal standpoint, we have a really good task manager because, multiple clients, multiple tasks, multiple deadlines. We really got to be on top of it. So we take our task managers extremely seriously, because that is literally the beat to the company to make sure everyone's moving along on their tasks on a monthly, weekly basis.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, like we touched on AI, is how are we going to incorporate AI? And so obviously we've been using ChatGPT and coming up with prompts and the right prompts for emailing, but even for reviewing financials or helping us review financials, right? Giving it our CFO notes and like letting it give us feedback on our CFO notes, things like that.
Yeah.
But more so even building an internal agent, right? It's been a challenge. We're working with a developer to build an internal agent. Nothing we would turn around to clients for the foreseeable future, but more so to help answer internal questions that come to the partners, to me and to Kathy and I. And and that project is on now month 2. It's coming along. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, Murphy's Law. What could go wrong will go wrong, and it's just working out the glitches, right? Literally asking this agent a million prompts, letting it give us a million wrong answers, and then giving it feedback, and then figuring out the coding, what needs to be adjusted on
Yeah.
the coding side. So that's where we're at right now as far as implementing further technology into the firm.
Totally, yeah, and that AI tool will continue to exponentially grow. I mean, we saw it, 4 years ago when all this AI was still coming out. You remember how bad it was and
Yeah.
terrible, and now it's just continuously growing.
Oh, it's yeah.
Absolutely. So, Andy, what is next for you? Where do you want to take your firm, 3, 5 years down the line? What do you have planned for that? You guys looking to grow, kind of maintaining where you're at? What are your plans for that?
No, I mean, realistic. I would love to, if God willing, we would love to continue to grow. Right,
Yeah.
that's the goal. We want to, hopefully internally continue to have our team. Promoted to the next level, right? So staff accounts be hired to senior accountants to accounting managers, and maybe even some accounting managers to even a partner type level, right? We would definitely love, because that's the only way we'll be able to continue to grow is if we continue to build an amazing team,
Exactly.
right? So we're really team driven. But the goal in the next 3 to 5 years is to grow it to 10x from where we're at right now, would be ideal, and continue to really hone in on the professional service industry, right? So like I said, we've been really blessed with some amazing referral sources, and I'm not taking those for granted, right? But essentially what I would love to do is create a great lead generation on our own, where we don't have to only rely on referrals, and where that lead generation is targeted towards the professional service industry, mainly attorneys. Like that's really the industry we love working with. But don't get me wrong, I think we're great at servicing multiple other industries. So professional service industry targeted to really start generating our own leads and continue to increase our client counts. But also, more importantly, right, like one thing we really do well here is we always stay overstaffed,
Mhm.
right? Because we don't want to take on a crazy amount of new business, and then our current clients see the hit of it because we
Yeah.
can't keep up with the work, right? Like that is like the biggest concern. So making sure we're hiring talent, training our talent, and then giving our team room for growth, right?
Yeah.
Like that is one thing that I take great pride in, right? My first intern ever, my first like team member ever, Kathy, right? Like literally, she's a family friend. Her mom happens to be at my mom's house when I'm there,
Yeah.
and she asks, "Hey, I hear you started your own little accounting firm. Kathy, she's in accounting right now at UIC. Do you need any help?" And I was like, I literally, like that day or like the day prior, I landed like my fifth client, and I was like, "Oh yes, like I'm getting to the point where I can't keep up by myself. Yeah, can you like give me her number, right? Because like she was a family friend, but I wasn't in contact with
Yeah.
Kathy. Like I didn't know her like that, and anyway, so I hire her as an intern, our first intern ever. And 7 years later, she's a partner with me, doing, amongst her peers, doing amazingly well. And she's only going to continue to grow. So one thing I take great pride in is building our team within, right? Like I tell some of the people that I see on our team that potentially could be partners, I give it to them straight, right? Like, hey, what do you want? First, I ask them, what are your goals and dreams? And if they give me any indication that they want to be partnered, they want skin in the game, they want equity, now I'm going to hold you to that standard, right?
Yep.
And then understanding that you don't have the full experience, you need to get more callous, right? More of an accounting callous, and more, you need to fall down 10 more times and get up 11, right? Like I get all that, but I'm going to hold you to that standard, and make sure that I support that growth
Yeah.
to get you there.
Exactly. No, 100%. I have no doubt you guys will hit that. I mean, that's the long-term game is surround yourself with good people. And another thing you said that I want to touch on is so many firms, they just want to grow, 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 but then they forget to maintain their current client relationships and retain those. And so it may seem good on paper for a few years that you're continuously growing hugely, but if you're not keeping the foundations, you're going to dissolve over time. So I like that you guys are kind of aim for growth and positioning for growth, but still realizing, hey, we need to maintain what we have as well. Absolutely.
That's right. That's
Andy,
right.
last question for you before we wrap is what is one piece of advice that you would give to, someone who maybe is in accounting right now and wants to start their own firm, but is just so overwhelmed with the thousands of firms out there and doesn't think they can make it and is having these doubts? What is your advice to someone in that situation?
You gotta do it. This is the best time to do it. Right now, I feel that we're in a really unique time in history of accounting, right? So where there's this massive shortage because of baby boomers, right? They're either retiring, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, or they're passing away, right? So now a lot of clients are going unserviced, And there's this huge decline, especially in the United States, of young people getting into the industry, getting into accounting. So right now is the best time to get into the industry, but also now if you're hungry and you got that entrepreneurial bug to start your own firm, there's not a shortage of clients, and bigger firms like the one I was fortunate to first make a connection with, more and more so they're firing clients, smaller clients, and because they want to keep up with their big clients and have higher engagement relationships. So now these bigger clients, like for instance, I know a firm that if they're not going to sell you on $4,000 a month of accounting services, they're not even going to take you as an accounting client.
Mhm.
I'll take those all day. I'll take $1,000 a month accounting client all day. I'll
Yeah.
take a $500 a month accounting client all day, right? So the bigger firms, make a connection with a bigger firm, a partner at a bigger firm. That in itself could grow your firm exponentially, right? Building that relationship. So you got to just make the jump. But like we said, there is this now AI dynamic, right? So how fast will AI step in and take over some of these lower level tasks where now you're managing AIs and not so much managing too many staff members? Your staff members will be managing AIs, right? So like why I'm saying that is because like I myself don't know, like, will this demand continue? Or will AI, how much will AI take over where the demand does start lowering, or because of the technology stepping in and helping so greatly? That is an unknown, right? It's either going to go one way or another. Um, but in any case, like, let's not be worried about the if, ands, and buts, right?
Exactly.
Like right now, if you are willing to make that jump, you got to make that jump, right? It's not easy. It's going to be hard. You're going, like a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to start my own company because I don't want to have a boss. I want to do what I want to do on my time." No. Your clients are going to be your boss, and you're not going to have any time. Like literally, I have two boys, right, and we have a family ranch that we live on that we just recently moved to, and like I wish I had more time right now, but I understand that it takes sacrifice. And I hope in the long term, the next 5, 10 years, I will be able to um, have more time and be able to do other things that people can't do because I did other things right now that people won't do. Right? Does that
Exactly.
make sense? Right?
100%.
Yeah. And so in any case, I I encourage the young accountants to go out and make the jump, right? But do it like also, it gets a little hairy, right? Like for instance, one of my earlier interns, he ended up leaving and working for a bigger firm, and now he's on the side trying to build his own book of business while he's at a firm. So it's a little right now there's a conflict of interest there, right? So like where because of what I'm about to say, it's like you want to make the jump, but you also want to have some clients already. So when you quit your job, you still have some income coming in,
Hmm.
right? But it's like, how can you um morally build that book of business on the side, right? And maybe that's making sure when you land with when you land with an accounting firm, make sure you read your agreement that you're signing with them, right? See if there's opportunity for you to build your own book of business on the side, things of that nature. But anyway, sorry, long-winded. Make the jump, do it. It's not going to be easy. Expect some of the hardest years of your life, but also the most rewarding years of your life.
Great advice. And I love that you say that. A lot of people think that from every single business owner that I bring on the podcast or speak to outside of this, they all tell me the same thing is that so many people think that starting a business is just, hey, I'm starting a business, I'm gonna get so many clients, make so much money, and it's just gonna be the easiest thing ever. But they've all told me the same thing is that there were years and years of their journey where shit just, for lack of a better term, shit just sucked and they were just pushed through and it's hard.
Yeah.
And
It's
so,
like Elon Musk says, right? And like politics aside, right? Like I know he's gotten very political now, but
yeah.
politics aside, Elon Musk says like what's defines entrepreneurship? And it's like, what did he say? Like it's chewing glass and looking out in the abyss, right? It's
Mhm.
like looking out at the unknown and
Yeah.
just chewing glass at the same time. And like what I like to say, it's like how many shit pies are you willing to eat every single day, right? Like I like literally, right? Every day there's fires, every
Yeah.
day there's issues. But that's the beautiful part about it, and that's why it's like it's not for everybody, and that's why I do believe in the God, the universe, whatever is your faith. I believe that's God rewards people in that way. If they're willing to do the hard, willing to get day in and day out. I mean, literally, it's day in and day out. No days off. Go hard every single day. God will reward you, right? Um, so, but again, it takes sacrifice, and that's the beauty of it, right? And I mean, I think that just goes for so many things in life, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
God will give it to those who want it most and who prove they want it
yeah,
most, right? If you're
yeah,
someone who
yeah,
says they want to work hard, but they take a lot of days off and they slack, but like you have to be all in, even when you're not seeing results. If you're getting no clients, you still have to keep going until you get one, right?
yeah,
Unless you want
exactly.
to be a quitter, and then you're never going to be successful. So, great advice, Andy. Before we wrap up, Andy, where can people find you if they want to learn a little bit more about you or about your services or about your firm?
Yeah, I mean, so our website, I'm not sure if you could maybe put it up somewhere, but it's
Totally.
accounting hyphen solutions with the Z at the end.com. It would be the best place, but then also my email address. So if you could, Noah, put that up as well, maybe, where it's, Andyz at accounting hyphen solutions with the Z at the end.com. So solutionZ.com, would be the best place. So yeah, drop me an email, right? And check out the website first. That would be the best place.
Totally, yeah. Well, we'll link everything in the show notes. And to anyone who's listening who is in a messy situation with their business and needs some clarification and someone who's going to help them organize everything, please reach out to Andy. So thank you, Andy, for this conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Same here. Really appreciate it, Noah, and willing to come on anytime. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll see you in the next one.